Welcome to Medicated Housewife DIY, where crafting and mental health come together. Hello again, my DIY loving friends, and welcome to my new friends. Get ready to transform your home with these 5 easy Dollar Tree DIYs for stunning high-end decor. We'll turn tumbling tower blocks, jute, and pool noodles into trendy pieces and chic decor accents. Follow step-by-step instructions and impress your guests with your DIY skills. Elevate your home's aesthetic with affordable but impressive home decor on a budget, plus so much more. Now let's go DIY together. So stick around, let's go make some stuff and jump right into this. For this DIY, I'm using this clear plastic ice bucket from Dollar Tree and this gorgeous wood platter that I got on Temu. And if you haven't seen it, I will link my Temu craft haul video for you below. But you could also use a faux wood charger plate from Dollar Tree for this too. I am also using some of this thick jute I got on Amazon, and I will link it in the description box below for you. But you could also use the thinner Nautical rope from Dollar Tree for this as well. I'm using a ruler and a small piece of rope that I've marked with a pen at 1/2 inch, and I'm going to measure and mark the entire diameter of this ice bucket using a Sharpie to mark every 1/2 inch around the entire opening at the top. Then I'm going to cut a piece of jute that's the height of the ice bucket plus a couple of extra inches, and then cut a whole bunch of pieces the same length, enough pieces so that I have one for each of those 1/2 inch markings around the top of my ice bucket. I take one of those cut pieces of jute and hot glue it to the top of the bucket, fold it over the edge on one of those Sharpie markings. And I'm going to do this for every 1/2 inch mark around the opening of the whole bucket. With my jute still on the roll, I am starting at the top, and I'm going to do a very basic weave over and under these hanging pieces that I've just glued. For this first woven row, I use some hot glue every 3rd or 4th weave and glue that section to the bucket to keep the first row in place. Again, just weaving over and under. It's not a tight weave, but this first row has to be a little tighter than the rest to keep everything in place. Hopefully that makes sense to you. You can always pause the video if you need to and replay a section. Once we get to the second row, we are getting a little looser with the weave. Same over and under, but I am not going to use any hot glue here. The whole idea is that the weave is pretty open and there are visible empty squares of the clear plastic showing through. The whole concept is a nice loose open weave. I am going to keep weaving continuously all the way to the bottom using the jute that is still on the roll. We don't need to cut it until the end. I stop every now and then to straighten out the rows and the hanging pieces so that all those woven squares are even and sort of straight. We are not looking for perfection. It's a very relaxed weave. Once I get to the bottom, I am going to hot glue the weave in place to keep the whole weave together. And after that last stitch is glued down, that's when I cut the jute off of the roll, and that's going to finish my weave. Then I trim all my hanging pieces to a more manageable length and hot glue every single hanging piece over the edge of the bottom of the bucket to secure them in place before cutting all the rest of that excess jute off. With the weave finished, I turn the bucket upside down, and all that's left is to attach the wood platter to the bottom of the bucket. You can use hot glue or, quite honestly, just place the platter on top if you don't want to commit to your bucket permanently. And I cannot tell you how much I love this woven pedestal platter. I saw a side table identical to this for a lot of money, and I just love this scaled down version, which will look incredible as a serving platter on your summer table for just about anything, or even as a planter candle stand. This is a serious winner in my book. Simple, but just breathtaking. For this next DIY, we are starting with some tumbling tower blocks from Dollar Tree along with some super glue wood glue, also from Dollar Tree. We are going to make 7 sets of 2 blocks glued on top of one another, sandwich style. So that is 14 blocks made into 7 sets of 2. Next, we are going to make 14 sets of 2 blocks glued end to end. So that is 28 blocks made into 14 sets of 2. And for those keeping track at home, we used a grand total of 42 tumbling tower blocks for all of these. Now we take those 14 sets of 2 and we are going to glue them into 7 sets of 4. So that is one 2-block set on top of another 2-block set, sandwich style. Next, I take one of my 2-block sets and glue it to the end of one of my 4-block sets in the shape of an L, as you can see me do right here. I do that with all 7 sets, so I am left with 7 L shapes. I'm going to paint all 7 L shapes with this Folk Art Antique Wax, which I will link for you below. I'm painting all sides and edges of each L shape, and I am using a dry paper towel to rub off the excess wax and put those aside to fully dry. Once dry, I am going to assemble my L shapes together in a zigzag formation. So I glue the second L to the first L with it slightly indented by 3/4 of an inch inward, as you can see me doing here. And you can pause the video if you need to. I glue each L with the 2 blocks set that's standing up, alternating side to side, one side and then the other, each indented 3/4 of an inch inward. It sounds a lot more complicated than it is. Just watch what I'm doing. When all 7 are glued, I'm going to allow it to dry overnight. And this is my Tumbling Tower Block Zigzag Riser, a super simple little riser with some visual interest and just another variation in the seemingly endless variations of Jingle Block DIYs. But I know you guys love them and I am here to give them to you. For this next DIY, I cut a piece of pool noodle from Dollar Tree and then I cut that open in the middle, taking 1/2 of that piece of noodle and I roll it together kind of like a donut shape. And I am using some masking tape also from Dollar Tree to tape that donut shape together. And then basically I'm going to cover the entire donut in masking tape to secure it in place and to protect all of that foam from all of the hot glue that we are about to be using. Now my donut is covered in tape. I stuff a small jar inside it because I want to make sure that donut shape is as even and rounded as I can get it. Next, I'm going to be using some jute, which I will link for you below, but you can easily use the jute from Dollar Tree for this as well. I'm using hot glue to secure the jute as I start wrapping the donut, beginning from the inside edge and wrapping it from one side of the donut, going all the way to the other side of that side's inside edge, securing it with hot glue as I go. And I'm making sure that my rows of jute as I wrap stay as even as possible as they are wrapping around that entire donut. Next, I have these 2 3-inch wood rounds, which I will link for you below, as well as 4 of these tiny wood angels from Dollar Tree. I'm going to be painting one side of both wood rounds with some antique wax, and I am also painting all of those wood angels. Now, I did remove the wings from the angels, but I tell you, Dollar Tree must use the strongest glue on those little angel wings, and I was just physically unable to remove all that glue residue from them. I did my best. I camouflaged the glue with a little bit of extra antique wax on the angels. I use a dry paper towel to rub away any of the extra wax on both the angels and the wood rounds. I decided which end of my jute covered donut looked best, and let's just call that the top, shall we? I glued one of my wood rounds to the top of the donut hole using some hot glue and centering it as best I could. Then I turned the donut over onto the bottom and hot glued the other wood round to the center of the bottom. Lastly, I take my wood angels and place them on the bottom, trying to make sure that the ugly glue bits are facing inside. And I use some hot glue to glue the angels as feet onto the bottom wood round. And this is my pool noodle riser or candle or plant stand, and I love the way it looks. It reminds me so much of those ottomans or footstools on TikTok that people make out of old tires. What an awesome little high-end decor piece made out of a pool noodle. I love it. This DIY starts with this basket from Dollar Tree. Now, I can't remember if this is a $1.25 item or one of the $3 Dollar Tree Plus items. Let me know in the comments if you know. I am also using some jute, which you can get at Dollar Tree, but I will link this one for you below. And to start out with, I cut a bunch of short pieces of the jute. I'm attaching each piece of jute in a loop to the top of the basket, and I overlap each loop that I add using hot glue to secure them. And I'm going to keep attaching those overlapping loops all the way around the top of the basket. To cover up the edges of the jute loops, I start wrapping some more jute over all of those edges of the loops. I wrap the entire inside lip of the basket 4 times to cover the ends of the loop. So that's 4 rows up to the top. Then I decided that the top of the basket looked a little bare, so I did 1 row of wrapped jute around the outer top edge of the basket. So after I wrapped the outer edge, I felt like I needed to cover the empty space between the inside wrapped jute and the outside wrapped jute. So I glued 1 row of wrapped jute kind of stuffed into that gape between the inner and outer jute rows. Hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Next, I cut a piece of Dollar Tree nautical rope and I wrapped that along the bottom edge of the basket just one time to sort of give the bottom of the basket like a little bit of a finish. Lastly, I had these large wood balls in my stash, but you could easily use large wood beads for this. Just unpainted, I glued them to the bottom of the basket as feet to give the basket a little bit of height. And that's all there is to this upgraded Dollar Tree basket. I think this turns a plain basket into a little bit more of a boho vibe. It is easy, it's inexpensive, and it definitely adds some style to your decor. This next DIY starts with this wood slice from Dollar Tree that my husband, Mr. Medicated, was kind enough to drill this hole right through the middle of because power tools scare me and I avoid them as much as possible. He also cut this large stick in half for me because, as previously noted about power tools, I avoid them anyway. This is a piece of a rope ladder I got on sale at Hobby Lobby specifically to take apart, just like I'm doing here. You could easily grab a large tree branch from your backyard for this as well. I also had him enlarge the already drilled hole at the top of the stick. We will also be using this Firelight Faux light bulb from Dollar Tree, as well as this push light that is from Dollar Tree as well. I cut a long piece of this very thick nautical rope I got on Amazon, which I will link for you below, but I think you could use the larger nautical rope at Dollar Tree for this too. And I taped the end so I could fit the rope through the hole at the top of the stick, pulled out about 9 or 10 inches of rope right through. Then I unraveled the rope that was pulled through the stick, unraveling it to the point that it started to resemble doll's hair or something like that. Or it resembles a really, really bad bleached hair job. I'm a bottled blonde, trust me, I know a bad dye job when I see it. So we're left with this kind of mess, and I'm going to find the middle of the mess, glue the lampshade part of our faux light bulb to the middle of this blonde mess. And then I'm going to start gluing the blonde mess around the outside of the lampshade, and I'm starting with the narrow part of the shade and then attaching the hair to the wider part of that lampshade too. We're going to be going all the way down to the edge of the shade so that the entire shade is covered with this blonde mess of hair, as you can see me do right here. Now, I apologize, I totally lost the footage of me wrapping over the blonde mess with jute, but I did wrap that entire lampshade over the unraveled nautical rope with jute from top to bottom, and I continue that wrapping until I reach the edge of the lampshade and all of that nautical rope hair is peeking out from under the jute wrapped lampshade. I put all that hair into a little ponytail to keep it from getting even messier as we work with it. I pulled a little bit more of the nautical rope through the hole, and I wrapped that with jute so that it would look cohesive with the lampshade, like one long continued piece. Then with the other side of the nautical rope, I experimented with ways of wrapping the rope around the wood stick until I found a way that I liked it. And then I used some dabs of hot glue to secure that nautical rope into that position on the wood stick. Next, I hot glued the stick into the hole in the wood slice to secure it in place, and I used some of that excess nautical rope at the bottom to wrap around the stick bottom once or twice, securing that with hot glue just to help the stick stay upright and in place on the wood slice. And then I trimmed the unraveled rope around the lampshade to the same length all around, and in an effort to fluff it up, I used a comb on it, and frankly, the comb ended up taking out so much more of the unraveled rope that it ended up looking pretty sparse instead of fluffy, but I kept going. Lastly, I hot glued the puck or push light to the inside of the lampshade. And this is my nautical lamp, and honestly, I had a vision for this, and this reveal is not my vision. A couple of things I do differently. I'd have made it taller with a longer stick, and I just don't know. Let me know in the comments what you guys think I could have done to fully realize my nautical vision here. And as usual, I want to know what you think. Let me know in the comments which one of these easy Dollar Tree DIYs is your favorite and why. I really love hearing from all of you. And if you've enjoyed this DIY video, there's another one waiting for you. Just click that link on your screen for more Medicated Housewife DIYs. Thanks for watching. Until next time, my name is Sarah. I'm the Medicated Housewife, and crafting is my medication.